All right. And we are live. I'm gonna wait till some people start showing up. Uh
Yeah, I gotta say
it's
your Patreon's really starting to pick up a little bit. It's
yeah,
nice.
yeah. And I just launched it what was it, 2 days ago? 3 days ago? And I didn't even want to do it. I really didn't even want to do it.
No, I don't feel bad doing it. I mean, if people want to give you some extra money, I mean, I figure it's icing on the cake. I mean, don't
Mhm.
count on it, but that's the way I look at it. But it's just
Right.
their way of showing their support, and it kind of keeps you, motivated to keep going. But it's just really nice when people want to help you out like that.
Yeah, and in YouTube, they're demonetizing the hell out of everything. It's
Yeah.
actually kind of absurd. Um, okay, so you for the people that are starting to pour in, actually, I'll wait a little bit longer to get some eyeballs in here, and then I'm gonna have you tell me about yourself.
That sounds good.
All right, all right. So how have you been holding up during this whole pandemic?
Just staying inside. I'm used to staying inside anyway, goofing off on YouTube. YouTube anyway.
Hmm.
Since I am at a house, I actually have a backyard, so I can go out and stretch my legs. So that's nice.
Hmm.
But I just go out when I absolutely have to, and even I got a little mask I wear if I remember to wear it.
Hmm.
Um, but it's just like I'm just trying to keep busy, keep focused on the positive things. But other than that, I'm doing all right. I'd imagine I'm doing a lot better than some people are doing. So I'm
Right.
grateful for that.
Good, good. It's crazy. I was with my brother a couple days ago, and I always keep my mask in my car, in my glove compartment. I have like a handful of masks, and this time he went in his car, and we went to the store, and he didn't have his mask with him, and we weren't in my car, and I didn't have my mask with me, and I'm like, "Are we gonna go all the way back to get the mask?" And we're like, it was a really weird situation. People were looking at us like crazy, and so that actually made me kind of be a little more lenient to the whole people wearing a mask. I think people should still do it, but
Yeah.
it was so easily forgotten. Like I legitimately forgot it, and I wasn't trying to take a stance or anything like that. Or
Well, you
yeah,
can tell them, hey, you can always do one of these. Just be like, hey, look, I'm wearing.
yeah, yeah. And that's what I ended up doing. That's what I ended up doing.
Okay.
Um, okay, so yeah, tell the people coming in and myself, because this is our first time actually talking about yourself and how you got started and what have you.
Well, I am known as the Everyday Progressive. I have a YouTube channel, the Everyday Progressive Show. I also do streaming on Twitch a little bit under the same name. I plan to get back more into streaming soon when I basically have the energy to do it. But so other than that, I try to upload videos on my YouTube channel about maybe once a week, something like that, 5-10 minute videos, if that. Focused on left leaning politics, promoting the left wing ideas, especially basic income, which I've been supportive of since the middle of 2017.
Hmm.
And really, even when I first looked at UBI, I thought, well, could this really work? But the more I looked into it, the more it made sense. So
Hmm.
I just took it from there, started the channel, and then started promoting other ideas as well. I try to have, not to be like a left wing echo chamber. I try to have discussions with people who are right leaning, right of center, libertarian, even anarcho capitalists. Them those those jokers. But I try not to just exclude someone just because they don't agree with everything my position has or
Hmm.
is. So that's the way I try to run my channel. So if you're right leaning watching this, don't if you have a question, don't think I'm going to bite your head off. Um, and if you treat me good, I'll treat you good. That's how I do it. So I've been into politics for like 20 plus years. I don't look it, but I'm actually a bit older than what I look like. So I'm actually 41. Um,
Wow. See, I wouldn't have guessed that. Good genes, man. Huh.
Yeah, then I hit the wall when I'm 50 with my luck, right? It just it all just goes to shit. But so yeah, I've been pretty left leaning all my life. My dad being a Democrat helped me to be more on the liberal side. But the more I look into things, the more they seem to make sense.
Hmm.
I mean, if anything, I mean, I'm not trying to maybe freak out your whoever's watching this. I identify more as not absolutely, but more as a libertarian socialist, definitely left of center, way left of center, but not. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not an absolutist. I try not to be, hard line on anything. I try not to be. But it's just like I'm more interested in getting the concentrated power that wealth has, like Jeff Bezos, the Waltons, the Koch brother, the one that's still alive, trying to get that all that concentrated power that they have, and just make it to where it's not as strong within their hands. You know what I mean? So it's more or less like that. But mainly it's just ideas that make lives better for the average American person. I try to promote and push for, and that's what I've been trying to do with my YouTube channel. But YouTube is, they hate political talkers,
Yeah.
and they try to push us to the back burner. They're trying to promote like CNN and even Fox News as
Hmm.
authoritative sources. I'm like, they've been wrong about like the Iraq War and all kinds of other shit. Like, how are they authoritative just because they're big? They're backed by corporate money, and no.
Exactly.
So I just hate it. And I mean, I'm glad your channel seems to be your channel. I came across your channel, Read My Lips, um, about maybe 3 or 4 months ago. Subscribed because I'm like, hey, this guy's Yang Gang. And quick question: did you say that Andrew Yang follows you on Twitter?
No, no, he needs to follow. He's retweeted me a couple times, but he
Oh,
actually
okay.
hasn't followed me. He hasn't followed me back. I got to yell at him about that. He's retweeted me, but he hasn't followed me back. I've met him, in real life, and he knows I exist, which makes me more irritated. He hasn't followed me back yet.
Well, the
But
mess the messed up thing is because I've been such a strong proponent of UBI since back in 2017, and actually followed Andrew Yang pretty early before he was really really known. He ended up following me back, so he follows me on Twitter.
yell at him for me then.
I,
Um,
tr- I tried sending messages, but I guess he's just too busy.
he's got 1.4 million followers at this point. But that's interesting. I don't think I've interviewed someone that I can, or interviewed me or whomever, someone that's really left, right? That you describe
Right.
yourself, on the left. Um, and I was a Sanders supporter, and I would say I was pretty left wing. I describe myself as left wing at that time, and I'm still more left than anything else. But now I would describe myself more as an independent, and I'm pretty over both parties right now.
Me too. I mean, as of right now, I'm voting until Biden, which he won't do it. But if Biden magically gets his act together, then I'll vote for him because I feel that he'll have a better chance of winning. Of course, if I knew that or felt that Biden could actually beat the Orange Menace in the White House,
Mhm.
I'd vote for Biden. But as he's doing it, it seems like he doesn't really give a shit. He's like, it's like he has this attitude like, if he wins, great, but if not, eh. That's more or less
Right.
how he seems to be doing it. So because of that, if I'm going to vote for a loser, who's going to lose anyway, I might as well vote for Howie Hawkins, the Green Party,
Hmm.
because he's got the platform. He supports basic income too. So like, fuck it. If I can't have Yang, I mean, I'd take Yang. I don't agree with him on everything, but I'll take him over any day of the millennium over this orange bastard we have in the White House. But
Yeah.
the thing is, we we've sort of led ourselves politically, not us exactly, but as a country,
Hmm.
to where we can allow someone like Trump being elected. So we just got to push through it and try to support candidates at the local and state and city level who
Yep.
are pushing ideas that we agree with as much as we can, and that's the way we're going to really build a strong foundation for the future. Which the way I see it is actually going to get much better, but just for the time being, it's just going to really suck ass for the next year or two. But after that, it's going to get progressively, no pun intended, but progressively better and better and better and better. So it's after that. But that's just the way I see it. So it's just a matter of just getting the really hard work out the way, and then we can really pave the way for a much better future.
So let me ask you, because like I was saying, I was a Sanders supporter, and it was actually Russell from Grassroots who pushed me over to the Yang side. How and why did you switch to Andrew Yang?
Well, I supported him mainly because he supports the idea of basic income, and he seems to be. Yeah, I mean, he definitely has his economic libertarian strains, or um, sort of. flavor about him, but I don't see it as being. I don't see him as being unreasonably to the right, or if he does hold any right wing, libertarian type of stances. But
Mhm.
I say, you know what, I'm gonna support him because he really is speaking to something that is brand new. Because or the Democratic Party, or at least when he was running on stage and they mocked him, they mocked the idea of basically, oh yeah, giving people free money, like fuck you, you're not the Democratic Party.
Right.
No, you're a bunch of corporate sellouts. Fuck you.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so it's just the attitude that he has. He wants to bring something new idea, a fresh idea to the table. Now, basic income or providing basic financial security to all citizens, or at least all families. It's not a brand new idea. Of course, Nixon talked about it, and it was actually sometime in the 1930s or 40s. I was talked about it very briefly, but
MLK talked about it.
yeah, the Poor People's Campaign, and he described himself as a democratic socialist.
Yep.
So I don't see why like some people are just so like socialist, ooh. But then again, it's the propaganda narrative pushed by the capitalist elite and the ones who
Mhm.
really pull the strings of our economy
Yep.
on the big or the major level. But so so I went with Yang because, or at least I really support. I still do. I still support him going out there and just talking. That's why I try to send the messages every once in a while about the topic I'm going to raise with you, or at least the angle that I'm going to raise with you about basic income. Because the way I see it, what I found out is we're doing the more expensive, less effective thing with poverty existing the way it does right now, and we're actually sandbagging our own economic growth, not doing a basic income. So we're doing the really shitty options right now. Whether we understand it or like it or not, that's what we're doing right now. It's like the same thing with Medicare for all. We're doing the more expensive, less effective option with healthcare in the United States right fucking now. So
Mhm.
when people ask, well, how can we afford it? I don't know. How can we afford something that's cheaper and better? I don't know.
Right.
It's just it's all about talking about those ideas as well as trying to frame the narrative, or at least counter frame the narrative that's being pushed by the right and the establishment Democrats. And because I hate to say it, but the corporate or the establishment Democrats have been just totally bought out by big money interests, which happen to serve the same big money interests as the Republicans serve. But so I went with Yang, supporting him as much as I could. I felt that he was a long shot, but I'm still with Yang, and hope he runs for office in the near future and takes it from there. Um, but who knows how that's going to go exactly? But
Right.
that's why, more or less.
So one of the things you had touched upon when we were talking was, and I don't want to straw man. I want to make sure I get it correctly. You feel UBI should be or can be stacked upon social safety nets.
Yeah, I mean, the thing
Okay.
is, it comes to there's this article I've seen by the Incomer. So if y'all out there do a search of a website called Incomer or Incomer.com and poverty and UBI, you'll probably see the link, estimating that poverty existing in this country is roughly costing our economy $4 trillion a year. It's an estimate, and that's more or less what we're spending right now. That's of course at the state, federal, local levels, and that's the side effects of poverty existing, and all that lumped together as an estimate. So, and if we also do another search of the idea, I don't have you ever heard of something called the net transfer cost of basic income?
No, clue me in. What's that?
It's like the idea that basic income doesn't have to cost 3 trillion new dollars each and every year. It's just that after the first year, the money's put into the fund because you got to put $3 trillion into it. I mean, hell, we're getting given
And
trillions to the banks.
just
Yeah.
to clarify, you're for doing it via value added tax, or do you have some other way of implementing it?
Well, no, actually, you don't really have to do value-added tax in order to do
Okay.
basic income. I mean, you might have to do some, deficit spending, which is fine. But the thing is, once you get that initial 3 trillion into the fund itself, the basic income fund, year after year after year, most of that money gets recycled back into that fund because
Mhm.
once you start making above a certain amount, say above 30,000, and as you progressively make more and more and more and more, your basic income amount gets clawed back as you make more over over the year. And once you get us above a certain cap, yeah, you still get the $1,000 check, but let's say you make more than $100,000, basically all that basic income gets clawed back, but it's done in such a way that you don't really notice a difference what was going on before because of all the savings that we'll be enjoying versus having a basic income like that in place. So it's kind of a weird concept. So if you just look up, like I said, the incomer, talking about how much poverty is costing the U.S. economy each and every single year, and then you look up basic income net cost,
Mhm.
and you really understand what's going on. And I know some people are like, "Oh my God, that's so hard to understand." I'm like, not really, but it's if you get those 2 points, you begin to realize, wait a minute, we're really are just getting just screwed by the way things are currently going with basic income not being implemented, even on top of current social programs. And I think it should be done in such a way that it's exempt from debt collection, public and private. It does not count towards qualifying for other social safety net programs you may need, and it's tax exempt. Like you don't get taxed for it for receiving those funds.
So
So
even if you have
even right,
even if you have student loans, child support, and things along those lines, you'd still receive the basic income.
right,
Okay,
and
I agree
what
with you. I agree. I actually agree with you 100%.
well, that's I mean, I figured you'd mind because you
Mhm.
seem rather sensible, and I've been watching all your videos, and like thing is, I'm just an average kind of person, average dude, and you obviously don't seem like a Washington insider, and someone who's just
They wouldn't
been
like
with the
me.
establishment for decades, and just another average dude. I mean, I think you're above
Yeah,
average because your channel is doing so well, much better than mine, but. Um,
appreciate it.
but YouTube this sucks. But anyway, not to get off track, but yeah, I mean, just wanted to share people the idea, the notion of what I'm trying to talk about with UBI being actually ending up. That's the key phrase here, ending up being a money saver compared to what we're doing now. Because if I think that really gets out there, and I've been trying to send Yang some messages on that, but he's just getting lost in the mix. And if he somehow gets wind of this and really looks into it for himself, now don't just take my word for it. Look into it
Mm.
yourself and just make your own mind. And I think that most people will go, yeah, you know what, this dude's right, or wherever they hear it from. So then they'll begin to really push it. And I think a lot of people are on the fence about it because if they realize that we can do this without really costing us more than what we're doing now, then why not do it? Especially if it's has all these wonderful positive side effects as well.
So and I didn't record it because it was like an off the cuff conversation. But yesterday I spoke to two people, ironically about UBI. And because we're all political junkies, we always talk about that shit, right? So I was explaining UBI to them, and they were actually all for it. And this is why this conversation we're having right now is so interesting about stacking it on top of the social safety net, because though they were for UBI, they were completely against stacking it on top of social safety nets. And I there's like a stigma going around, and I think this was what Yang wanted to avoid too, is that when you have government assistance programs, people look at you or look at it a certain way, um, and they were totally against it. And neither of these two were Republicans; they're actually Democrats. So how do we go about overcoming that social safety net stigma that exists? So these people could have, uh, you know, government assistance and a universal basic income, because a lot of people are saying it's also not fair. Like one of the people are saying it's
Yeah.
not fair. It's not fair to me that this person is getting food stamps, this person is getting cash assistance, and this person would also get a universal basic income. And quick story, I used to manage a Radio Shack, and one of my employees during that time, this is years ago before they went out of business, worked part-time, and she refused to go full-time because the government assistance she was getting at the time, she was making more on that than if she would have went full-time and lost the assistance. So it's very interesting. How do we overcome that barrier there?
I think doing a basic income on top of social programs would go a long way in doing that because it would make people feel that the system is much more fairer now. That even though some are getting more, hey, I'm getting a little bit of help too. That would go a long way to basically including a lot of people into that sort of safety net, that safety net for all. So that would go a long way, I think. And yes, I think I agree that the current welfare system it's really imbalanced and really unfair and really bureaucratic. But it's sort of like the neoliberal band-aid solution to these issues of poverty existing the way it does, and it's done in such a way that if you get it, you're somehow a failure or you
Right.
suck and you're terrible.
Yep.
So it's been stigmatized by a lot of propaganda and just a certain
For
mindset that
years, for a
yeah
long time. Yeah.
for a long ass time. And
Yep.
so if we can just get people included in the idea, or we get them included in some basic income, that'll begin to soften a lot of people's opinions about it. I think it'll just have that, and some time would go a long way to doing it. But here's the thing: I'm just saying we don't need to cut current social programs in order to do basic income. Now, if we can take, say, some of them, now I'm saying leave Social Security alone, leave until we get Medicare for all, leave Medicaid alone, leave Medicare alone, the expansion, leave all that shit alone. Like housing, leave that alone. SSDI, leave that alone. If you're disabled, leave that shit alone. But I'm saying some of them, or a good number of them, could actually down the road. I'm not saying immediately, but down the road, be sort of just taken out of commission and take those funds and roll them into adding to the basic income amount, to where instead of $1,000 a month, you get $1,200 a month per adult citizen, or $1,400 a month per adult citizen, whatever. So it's done so in such a
Mm.
way that you still have the other social safety nets in place, to where they can't be all just lumped into one program, to where down the road some right wing administration, if they ever get in, can just easily attack the thing. Yeah, that single program. There's still plenty of those social safety net programs out there, enough to where it's really difficult for any one administration to attack them all. But you still have the basic income, and it'll be a lot more fair to everyone and more efficient as far as getting the money into hands of people. Because I think the reason that this economy is really slowing down the way it is now, because people just don't have that extra money to spend on the things they need to get. So
Yeah.
so much of our economy is automated, and I think the
Mhm.
automation is a good reason for pushing UBI, but not necessarily the best one. But it's still a good
Right.
idea. Is that put money in the people's hands? They go out and they spend it, and the machines we leverage our manufacturing productivity that way, can actually just keep the wheels going until we get past this COVID-19 situation, and then we can just take it from there. That's seems to be make the most sense to me, because I'm not sure if you're aware, but 70% of our GDP in the United States is the consumer spending.
Yes.
That's so it's really important that people still have the money to spend. I'm not saying give them 10 grand a month. I'm not saying that,
Right.
but give them enough to where they got enough to where they're more than just scraping by, but they're doing it um, fairly fairly well enough to where they can just weather the storm. Then once things get back on track, they can go back to their jobs, and I think this just keep it. But the way this administration is, the way the Democrats are, being so bought out by corporate interests, wanting to keep people desperate just to keep wages low to maximize profits, because that's the name of the game.
I mean,
For these yeah.
how ironic is it that the establishment couldn't even symbolically, even knowing it was going to get shot down by the Republicans no matter what, symbolically introduce a UBI to at least, I don't want to say pretend, but at least show like, I care about the people. This is what I'm proposing. We know it's going to get shot down, but this is what is best for the people. Now, the issue you're going to have is with the Republicans that are going to shoot this down, not us. They couldn't even symbolically do something like that. And I've heard arguments that I have to give a head nod to, that, you know, someone like the Orange Man, someone like a Donald Trump would propose a UBI theoretically before the Dems would, for different reasons. I'm not saying
Yeah.
his reasons would be,
Yeah.
correct, but he'd be the type of person to pass something like that before a Pelosi or the House would. And I think that speaks volumes, which only makes me more determined to get these people out of here. It's time for them to go,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Pelosi, she's just hanging on. She might stay in there for one more term. But after that, she'll be, I think, maybe someone like Stacey Abrams might take her spot. But then eventually, within 10 years, I see that someone like, or at least AOC, within 10 years, AOC will be the Speaker of the House,
Yeah.
for sure. So it's just a matter of just getting these jokers out as quickly as we reasonably can, and trying to build enough of a left wing movement within the Democratic Party to take back the party for the average person, not just big money interest. Because a lot of these establishment Democrats, they're just so afraid of Reagan's ghost coming back from the grave and haunted. Get the hell out of it. I mean, you see them, right? Like Pelosi, she still dresses like it's the early '90s.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. This is. Ugh. I mean, I don't
How
know
could
fashion.
she ever? And this is something I was saying. How could she ever relate to someone like me? Right? In any way, shape, or form. Like you said, even
No
her
question.
her existence is still, like you said, decades back. Like that's her mindset, and she hasn't caught up with what's current. And there's just no way a Nancy Pelosi could understand me, my plight, my ideals. There's no way a Joe Biden could do something like that. I mean, and he shows it. He shows it every time. Like they'll straight up ask him, and he's like, "No, I don't believe in that. I don't want that. I don't want Medicare for all. I don't want it. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't even want a version of it."
Yeah.
Um, these people have to go. But it's been an uphill battle, and I'm not sure what would, and I'm interested on your take on this. What would be an easier way to get these people out of office? Another 4 years of Trump or a Joe Biden administration? Like, what do you think is the better route to make these changes? I've struggled with this, and I've gone back and forth. If I'm being honest.
Well, I don't think either way would be beneficial because they both have their upsides and downsides.
Yep.
I would definitely prefer a Biden administration, as problematic and as sucky as he is.
Hmm.
Um, he would be definitely preferred, but the thing is, he's just not going to win the way I see it because you have to have like Obama level of excitement to win in order to beat a Republican in this country. I hate to say it, like Bill Clinton levels of excitement.
Hmm.
I mean, even Hillary Clinton, she had that Clinton name behind her. She got the popular vote, but it wasn't quite enough to beat Trump electorally,
Yep.
and Biden just ain't going to cut it. So because of that, I see Trump getting a second term. Though my one of my political predictions is that Trump will not complete his second term. He'll actually resign around 2.5 years into it, due to mounting political and legal pressure to try to partially give the Republicans who are in office a chance to sort of distance themselves from the Trump name, because I think Trump and the Republicans really try to do some of the really nasty shit they really want to do in his second term. There's some other things as well, like have you ever heard of something called the Convention of States to rewrite the Constitution?
Yes. Yep. Yep.
They're going to try to do that within the first year or two of Trump being in office. They're going to really try to push that through. But thank goodness, thank God that if it ends up failing by 1 or 2 votes, it just doesn't happen. But it comes very close to happening. That scares a lot of people into running for office and running for the left wing ticket, the Justice Democrats, and like that. And just some of my other political predictions that I have on my YouTube channel, which I understand they're crazy. They're out there. Where the hell are you getting them?
We're
Well,
gonna talk about that. We're definitely gonna talk about that before this video is over. We're gonna talk about that. And talk about the ones that stood out to me. Um, okay, that actually doesn't sound too far off of something that could happen. Looking at the Trump administration and how he behaves and how he acts, he's an amalgam, and I can't pin him because when he ran as a populist, right? And he said the things that people wanted to hear. He was different. He was different than anybody else that ran. And people were like, "Oh, he's saying the things I've always wanted to say. He's keeping it real." It was all a facade. But he was really good at it and still is good at it to this day. Unfortunately for him, he's governed, so we see how he really is. But I mean, it still works on a lot of people. If you were to ask me 4 months ago if Joe Biden could defeat Donald Trump, I would say absolutely not, zero chance. And I've been saying that, much to the chagrin of a couple of my counterparts, but that's just how I felt. Now, I still think Trump has the upper hand, but I think it's going to be close. And I agree, to defeat a Republican like Donald Trump, you do need high turnout. The Democrats do really well with high turnout. The less the turnout, the better Republican does. People aren't excited for Joe Biden. And I don't know if that what about Trumpism, that anti-Trumpism is significant enough to where it can get Biden over the edge, or if people just not caring and being apolitical is enough that they're not going to come out and vote and it's going to be good for Trump. I I haven't I don't know, because I don't know if you saw the story, but there are people so obsessed with getting Donald Trump out of office that they talked about Joe Biden and boiling babies and how they'd still vote for him, like almost sounding. I called them the blue MAGA
Yeah.
because that's what they are.
Blue maggot. Yeah, it sounds right.
So I really don't know. And then with the COVID screw ups, and now with this, with the riots going on and with George Floyd's death, right now people are going to be paying a ton of attention to what these politicians are going to be saying. Uh, I think it's up in the air, and as you already know, I'm not a Joe Biden fan in any way capacity. He has not earned my vote, and I will not be voting for Joe Biden. But I think it's up in the air. Um, it's tough, but I do agree. Under a Biden administration, it will be slightly better because of the Paris Climate Agreement and the courts and things along those lines. There will be some perks versus a Trump administration. Trump literally said he's willing to sacrifice us for this economy. No matter
Pro-lifer,
how many,
right?
yeah, no matter how many people get sick, we're not stopping. We're pushing forward. So they spent trillions in these last bills, giving blank checks to all these corporations, corporate socialism. So it really bothers me when people complain about UBI and the cost of it. And one of the people, hope I'm saying it right, Che Channel said $1 trillion handout to 300 million people is $1,000 each, and that would last for about 30 years of monthly income. Um, is that the number you're focused on as well? Is it $1,000?
Yeah, I mean that's just a number that everyone seems to be going with. So, um, yeah. I mean, I'm going with that because everybody else is already understanding that number, and $1,000 a month. I mean, really, a lot of people think that's a lot, and really, in the grand scheme of things, even in the Midwest, even more economically depressed areas, $1,000 it can go pretty quick. The idea of basic income is just to provide some basic financial security. I wonder, have you ever heard of someone called Professor Guy Standing?
Professor, no, I haven't.
Well, he was one of the first. He's from England. I think he's from England, but he's one of the first few people that I really listened to and talked to. Well, not talked to, but listened to about basic income, and he talked about what it was about going back to Thomas Paine and massive. It's a
Hmm.
it's emancipatory type of deal. It's more than the money value, but it's the emancipatory value of what it can bring. So, and of course, the central idea is providing basic financial security, which happens to have all these wonderful side effects. I mean, it works great for Alaska. I understand Alaska is funded differently, but it's still a basic. It's the same idea. It's a
Yep.
cash. It's a direct cash transfer program,
Hmm.
and it seems to work very well for them. And as remote and as um, a lack of infrastructure that's up there in Alaska, it's still relatively low on the poverty list ranking in the United States.
Yep.
And so if it can work for them, it can work for the rest of us. And uh, so it's just like, I mean, because if it didn't work, if all of a sudden prices really did escalate to ridiculous levels, which they would be out there no matter what, because they're so remote,
Yep.
then Alaska would be either somewhere in the middle or way down on the really in the really bad part of the rankings. But so it's just it's time it's come. It's just a matter of getting the right politicians elected to get it done. Now, let's say if we were to have basic income done as extended Social Security, that would be okay too, because that's already there. As long as like you get your $1,000 a month for being over 18. No, I support the idea like maybe doing it starting at 16, or at least doing $500 starting at 16. Once you're 18, then it's 1,000 to help you get into, say, college or whatever.
Hmm.
If you want to do that, but because really, once you get to that age, you start to work anyway, and once you start to work, you start to really contribute to the economy, and you should have some say, some benefit of that. But that's my position. I think you said you weren't really sure about that before in one of your other videos, but if they did it as extended Social Security, as long as when you got to retirement age, that you got your full retirement plus that $1,000 or whatever it was on top of that, then yeah, I'd support that too. So it's many different little avenues where we can do it. Is I just prefer to stay done on top of current social programs. I just don't really see the need to cut current social programs. We could do it, but it's just the way I see it, it's just not necessary.
Well, is it? Are they? So then, so they wouldn't cut it to just get to have UBI be. So you're not for choosing one or the other, is what you're saying?
I'm saying it's just we don't have to choose when you look at the numbers what we're spending on our poverty existing, the way it does, the symptoms, and what we're spending now. It's
Right.
kind of like so like we're doing the more we're spending the money right now. Might as well spend the money on something that's going to cost us less and have far more benefits, and as well as provide a greater income growth. Because I'm not sure if you've seen I think it's about Business Insider. They put out an article a while back saying that if we did basic income for 8 years, at the end of the 8 years, it would have generated an additional $2.5 trillion added to the GDP and growth. Um,
Yep.
so, so it's like what the hell are we waiting for? So it's got to get the right kind of people elected to get these old Reaganites and get them out to
Yeah.
where we can actually do this because we're doing the more expensive option now. I keep trying to. I know I'm saying it over and over and over, but some people
No, you
hard
you
headed.
hammered you hammered it. I mean, Sanders hammered it, which she was right. Medicare for all would have net saved them money over
Right.
10 years. I mean, Charlie Kirk was talking about it and admitted it. Um, Ironically, he didn't mean to, but he ended up doing that. But it's weird. Just like you're saying, you keep saying that, but it kind of falls on deaf ears. The same thing was happening to Sanders. I mean, I guess he could have articulated it better. There was a lot of things he could have did better in his campaign, but even when you're telling people they're going to save money, you're going up against the propaganda, and we keep bringing up
Right.
YouTube and how they're holding us back or whatever. But it's an uphill battle. It's an uphill climb.
Oh,
Uh,
we can win it. So
yeah, we
we
yeah,
can we're gonna
oh
do
yeah,
it too. And I wish that I got to Andrew Yang about this before he got in his first time on stage explaining because of course they're going to ask him off the bat how are you going to pay for endless wars. Here's a blank check, but basic income help people. Uh, you know,
yep,
is
yep.
so if I just got to him and he would explain it that way, the way I basically explained it. I mean, I can if I had to say 45 seconds to explain, like he had, then I could have done that and say, everybody, don't just take my word for it, look it up yourselves, and then
Mhm.
that would have really accelerated a lot of people to be, what I think, I'm more open to doing this. I mean, as long as it makes more people more open to do it. I'm not saying they gotta totally agree with doing it right away, put their hand on the holy book of basic income. I ain't saying that. Just if they're really more open to the idea, I think that itself is a win to where it can gain support down the road.
Mhm.
Um, of course, I want to do many other left wing ideas as well, but some people are like, if you can only do 3 out of 9, I'm like, I want to do them all. Fuck you, I want to do three. Fuck, I can't. It's like having kids. You can't choose between one or the other. Even though one of them may be a stinker, you still love them both, or you still love them all. So I just can't choose. Just do them all. It just but what we just gotta get it done.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you about was we all know that we're a lot of Yang Gang, all of Yang Gang, most of Yang Gang is supporting Yang 2024.
Hmm.
However, on your political prediction series, and I encourage everybody to go check out his political prediction series, see if you see one that sticks out to you. I guarantee one will. You say Bernie Sanders will win 2024. Please explain. Because
It's
I didn't think
it's
he
it's
was going to run.
it's at first he's not when it comes to 2023. They start the campaigning. At first he's not going to want to run, but then he a while later changes his mind. He gets the nomination and he wins. Runs for one term, but because of his age, he's not too old yet, but he's up there. I mean, he's getting there, but he's not like decrepit. What's his name, President Carter. He's still building houses, and he's like 90, 98, whatever. I don't know if he's 98, but so I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's one of those things that sounds crazy, and I totally understand, and I get that. So if people will say, "Oh, dude, you're out your mind,"
You're gonna
what are
get
you?
pushed
It's
back.
like, what are you like? What are you smoking? I want some of that. God, man, it's like some good shit. So for the time being, it's just one of those things that it's just going to sit there until until the time comes. But until it happens, and people are going to be like, "How the fuck did you know with such accuracy and clarity?" So, and then once that happens, then I'll be glad to explain my sources, or my source.
isn't. I just want to clarify. This isn't in jest or anything like that. The political predictions are how you really feel. It's you making a genuine prediction for
Right.
sure. Okay, interesting.
Because I know you. I don't know if you've seen the other ones, but there are a couple of other ones that are. Man, they're
Let me
out there.
take.
I mean, even I
Let me.
admit they're out there.
So let me see what other. That was one that jumped out to me. Um, let's see if there's another one.
At least they're entertaining.
Candace and Dave. So Candace Owens hates me. Candace Owens and her supporters hate me. When I was
Good.
a
You
much
know what? You know
smaller,
what? You're doing something right then. Sorry.
yeah. When I was a much smaller channel, I did a video on Candace Owens, and then I think I mentioned her again not too long ago. And her supporters always come at me. YouTube filters the hell out of the comments, but they hate me, and she hates me as well. What is the prediction about Candace and Dave?
Candace Owens here in a few years, more or less, will come out and say, because once the Trump train has really left town, she can't really make the kind of money that she's making on the idea. So she's just going to come out and be like, okay, the gig's up. I was never really that much of a Trump supporter. I was just doing it to make money. Peace. I'm out. Now, Dave, on the other hand, will more or less around the same time, more or less, will come out and all of a sudden be like, "Oh, I seen the light and my error of my ways," because he thinks he sees a bunch of money. Because by then the left wing populist movement will have really gained a lot of steam, and he'll sort of want to go back to the left. But by then, most the left wing, arena or area people will tell him to fuck right the hell off, and then that will pretty much be the spiraling down of his career. But that's not going to happen for quite some time. At least
And just
that's
to
what
clarify, we're talking about Dave Rubin
Dave Rubin, yes.
for
Sorry,
everybody
yeah.
watching.
Right. Sorry, Dave Rubin, yeah. And so, because he's just, I mean, I don't begrudge someone making money off of a hustle, but if you get to the point where you're making, like Joe Rogan, millions and millions and millions of dollars, and 1 minute you're left wing, and 1 minute you're touting right wing fucking garbage, and you're already super fucking rich. I'm like, you know what? You already got it made. Your name is out there, and if you want to, you can write a book and sell it and make so much fucking money, and you're good. Why do that? Why shill for some fucking garbage? I mean, I don't know. But hey, people want to do what they're going to do, and I'm just reading the lines.
I don't. That's actually one of your predictions. I don't disagree with. I think so. Was it on Boyce's stream? It might have been on Boyce's stream, but I think there are people like Stuart Varney, for instance, who believes what he's saying and means what he's saying. Not that he's correct, but those are his genuine thoughts. And then you have people like Candace Owens, maybe even Tommy Lauren, who are playing a character and it's a role, and it's making them money, and that's why they're doing these things, because it's working currently. But as time goes on, they'll backtrack and try to shift to the next paradigm and make money off of that. I 100% agree with you on that. I think we're on
It
the
makes
same.
sense because
The Bernie Sanders. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
The Bernie Sanders 2024. I don't know if I don't know if I'm there. Look, I think Sanders is. I don't think he's going to run again.
All right.
I'll
just leave it up there for.
Leave it we'll come back to this.
If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't know. I can't really punch myself in the balls on camera, but because that's against term of service. But I'll hit myself in the face like, I'm an idiot.
All
Yeah,
right.
I try not to have much of an ego, so I can do that. I can do that without being hurt. But it's yeah, it seems crazy. And I understand that people, if they look at the political prediction playlist, they go, "What is this dude on? Like, why does it come out with this oddly specific sort of information?" And once they start to, especially with Kevin Brady, there's a one prediction I have about Kevin Brady. He eventually gets found out for financial crimes related to his office. He actually does some jail time. He's put before a judge and all that. He's a Republican representative in Texas, and the guy's head. God, I'm prettier than this dude. Ooh, that's saying a lot. But it's he's got his head, his skull is shaped like one of those, kind of like one of those old fashioned football leather helmets almost. And it's if you ever see his picture, says I disagree. It's going to be
Uh-oh.
Yang Gang 24 all the way. I
Uh-oh.
hope it is. If it's hey,
Uh-oh.
if Yang runs at 24 and he gets the nomination, I'm voting for him. Definitely, most definitely, because I see him right now as being the most, outside of Sanders, being the most, to me, the most electable individual there is that can actually win.
Mm.
Howie Hopkins, of course, is definitely more to the left, so that I like, but the Green Party still has a long way to go. Um, but yeah, I told an underfighter. I told it. I see what you're saying. Definitely, I know. I'm totally. I'm mine. But let's just wait a little while. Let's let the shit. Let's let shit simmer,
You
and then we can
you
see what
do
happens.
know if a majority of your predictions come true, people are going to think you're an insider. People are going to think there's something handed going on.
No, I'm gonna put on a big old Swami hat and be like, okay, this is the prediction. Now you got to give me money. I got to make money like Dave Rubin now. I ain't gonna do
you
that, but
you have a political prediction about Andrew Yang as well. I think I saw on there. What was that prediction?
Um, that I mean, it was more of a lighthearted prediction. I mean, like I said, I love Andrew Yang, and I say up front,
Mm.
I love Andrew Yang. I think he's great. I'd vote for the guy if he was still in the Democratic. If he got the nominee, hell yeah, I'd vote for him. I'd vote for him fucking 10 times if I could. But it was
Hmm.
just like I said, my source is really fucking weird, and or at least a lot of people would see it that way. If I told y'all what it was, you'd think I was insane, and I wouldn't blame you, not one bit. Um, like, fine, think I'm crazy. Go. I mean, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Don't no one has to believe me. Um, but based on what I've seen, he does after the 2020, more or less, like 2021, 2022. People noticed that he put on a bit of. Not like I said, I'm not insulting the guy. Just he does become a good deal like chubbier.
Mm.
It's not a bad thing. I think like I said, I love Andrew Yang, but that's just one of my other.
Evelyn's up in the kitchen, man. Evelyn's she's
Yeah,
putting in
yeah.
that work.
Hey, you know what? Hey, if someone's eating and they're little, that's good. That's good living. As long as
That's
it's moderate,
lovely,
it's moderate, even within moderation. You don't want to die of a
right?
heart attack, but yeah, that's good living. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that because I just when it does happen, people want to realize what the fuck this. It's one thing to predict like the presidential level election type of things because that's just like the odds of flipping a coin, really. But when you
Yep.
get down to some of the more smaller, weird, sort of out of left field type shit, then people begin to really ask, where did you get this information from, dude? So once that really begins to happen, then I'll be glad to come on your show and reveal the source, and people will still go, okay, yeah, your predictions made sense, but your source is what? And they're gonna do you fucking and there's just gonna be enough of a pool, not to dismiss me outright, but it's just part of my other plans I have going on besides politics as well. Pushing the yeah, I'm more, let's just say I'm more progressive in one way than just politics, but
Okay.
so it's just for the time being is what is where I can put my energy into. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm glad you got a kick out of some of the predictions, and they are out there, and man, they're at least worth a laugh. And so if people go on my channel, feel free to subscribe because I'm almost at 400 subs. If I can somehow get you wonderful people to hit that subscribe button to get me over 400 subs, I would be so fucking happy because YouTube is really being a bastard, suppressing political channels, even though I've never violated terms of service.
Hmm.
I'm not even bothering monetizing my videos because what's the fucking point?
Right.
It's going to demonetize your shit. So, it's so if you're Want to give me $1 a month on Patreon? That's cool. If not, hey, that's fine. The most I ask is that people just watch the video at least a little bit and put a comment down below to help out with the algorithm boost and all that, to try to help out with that. That's really the most I hope for. But if anything, I just want to get out the left wing message and the other ideas that I have. Hopefully, people be more receptive to it over time. And if people disagree, then just let me know in the comment section below. I'm not just going to ignore you. But YouTube has been really shitty about notifying me of comments and that happen in the comment section below. That's why I have Twitter. I'm at TheEverydayPRG. I'm also on Twitch. The Everyday Progressive on Twitch.
Mhm.
All the graphics are the same, so you should be able to find me real easily. I try to standardize the way my channel is, the way it looks. So I'm really not that difficult to get a hold of if you really have a question about something or you really disagree about something, whoever's watching this. So I'm really open with that, especially it doesn't matter if they're left wing, right wing. I've had a lot of left wing people disagree with me on like the idea that social safety, they think that social safety net programs are socialist. But I'm like, not really. They're more like, welfare state type of shit or safety net type of situation, because you can have social programs under a capitalist system like we do now, or social programs under a socialist system, or somewhere in between. So it's just this disagreements like that I even have with the left. So
It was
um,
it was interesting that the whole socialism, that word and how it was used during this last campaign cycle was like wrong in almost every instance. Like they were calling and Bernie called himself that too, a democratic socialist.
yeah,
He governs as a social democrat, like his
right.
policies and what he was, and so that was already wrong. And but the media would just call him, so they wouldn't even call him a democratic socialist, they would just say socialist. And most people didn't even know what that was or what it entailed. And then people were throwing communists out there. And the whole time, the whole while, we're doing corporate socialism and nobody's outraged.
What they consider
Nobody's
social media,
outraged.
right? It's
Like,
like I can see what
like
Bernie said.
he's like what he's doing is too radical. It's so radical. You want to give people this and that and this, and he's out of his mind.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, we're giving all these big companies this and that, and we're not batting an eye. It was just a really weird. I don't know why we do that to ourselves. And if you and people want to make an argument, it's too left. Fine, but at least admit that what he's saying isn't as radical as the media was trying to make it out to be. We're allowed to disagree and so forth. And I think we need to be critical of the candidates. I'm critical of Andrew Yang. Um, I've I have to, if I'm going to be honest and I'm going to be real, I have to be critical of these
you're
people.
not right. You're not just going to shield for the guy every way. It's type of the way.
I, I,
Like the
I can't.
a few videos ago, you talked about how maybe 2 or 3 videos ago, you talked about how he said everyone's ready to move on from I forget what was the situation where
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden's gaffe. Well,
Yep.
everyone like you can't really say that. I mean, like, he can't really say
Right.
everyone's. I mean, even I'm like, what the fuck? You're not like, dude. Wait a minute. Like an old white guy telling black folks what they can and can't be. Okay, that hasn't happened before in this country for 500 fucking plus years. All right. It's like,
And then look how
so I mean,
ironic.
I understand. Like Andrew Yang is very forgiving, but I'm just where he kind of screwed up was where he was trying to assume to speak for everyone else. Oh, we're just ready to move on. Like now, if he would have said, "Listen, I'm ready to move on. Yeah, he screwed up. He's an idiot, but everyone else maybe not so much." Then that would have been better. But
And look at the irony of the situation. After Yang said, everyone's ready to move on from that, it's like not a big deal, kind of let's sweep it under the rug. Literally days, the George Floyd death happened
yeah,
and there was an eruption. So that moving on, nobody moved on. If anything, it was escalation. I almost feel like the Biden gaffe was a precursor. That was like the precursor. That was like taking the top off the jar, and then it was
yeah.
open via George Floyd, and it was insane. I will get an Andrew Yang interview. That's going to happen, and in that interview, I'm going to have a lot of lighthearted questions, but then I am going to have some tough questions that I know he's not going to run from. I may not like his answer, but I don't think he's going to run from it. I think he's a very smart guy,
Yeah.
and he's going to answer the questions. But I do genuinely want to sit down and talk to him a couple things because the media, the CNN, but even in that video, was it CNN? The CNN reporter was like, Yang, I mean, you don't think that was a moment? Like even she was like, like she gave a little bit of a pushback, but um,
I mean, with Yang, the one of the best things I like about Yang is that he seems to be willing to, question some of his positions and maybe change if there's a good reason, augment or improve the position or stances that he has. At least he seems more open to that. The same fucking Biden guy. Biden is just fucking just he's unmovable. Um,
yeah, yeah,
so that's one of the definitely one of the things I like about Yang, and that I always will. And then, like I said, I hope he continues to, even if my little chubby prediction comes true, I still hope he runs for office and still is I hope he still does that, because I think he can be. And if he does come in, sure, you definitely, if he hasn't really talked about it yet at that time, definitely try to bring up the idea about what I talked about UBI being a money saving idea, even on top of current social programs, with the net transfer cost of basic income and what we're spending on poverty existing in the United States right now, the $4 trillion estimated. And I understand it's just an estimation, but that seems to be in the ballpark. So I mean, if you take the net transfer cost, which is around 600 billion to 700 billion a year, versus what we're spending, and you just put all that spending on the government, and
Mhm.
then because of all that money you're spending into stimulating people's economic situation, that's going to be more than worth it. I mean, the economic growth alone is going to be like a really nice icing on the cake. So if you just bring that up to him, if he hasn't talked about it yet or hasn't come across it yet, I think that'd be my little contribution to getting things pushed a little in the better direction. Yeah, I do what we can. We do what we can.
I do have a question for you. Somebody asked in the comment section. Uh, to help get Republicans on board, why not frame UBI as a negative income tax?
You could try to say it's similar to a negative income tax, or the equivalent of one. And I think a lot of people most people I've talked to in my personal life, if they're right leaning or right wing, I mean, as long as I think it's all about how you initially frame the idea and how you talk, how do you come at them and like, hey, listen, what we're doing now is more expensive, it's effective. Would it be more? It's not going to cost you personally anymore, really, to do it, and you get $1,000 a month. I mean, would you be open to the idea? And I think a lot of people, unless they're hardcore, ultra right wing, the government's bad no matter what, unless it protects my rights as a private property owning citizen. Then anything else is communist tyranny. Um,
Yep.
unless they're of that mindset, I think they'll be much more open to it. But this is my real fake name. That's a good username right there. I like that.
That's actually, yeah, it's pretty clever. That's pretty clever. So
It's been
give
about an hour already.
people,
Damn.
yeah, it's been an hour already. Give people where they can find you, and any information so they can go check you out right now.
Sure. I have a YouTube channel, The Everyday Progressive Show. I know it's a really long time, really long name, but it's what I'm going with. Also, I'm on Twitter at the Everyday PRG, and I'm also on Twitch, the Everyday Progressive Show, and I do some streaming around 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Whenever I do them, I'm gonna try to do more and more as the summer goes on, but as of lately been taking a break. But like I said, I like to engage people from the left, from the right. I try not to be a left wing echo chamber. If someone comes in is hardcore conservative, wants to have a genuine conversation, or even if they just want to troll, I like trolls too. Trolls are great. It's so much entertainment. I mean, it's cheaper than going to the movie, and plus, I get to go back and forth and bump my head against someone who's just being hard headed. It's so much fun. Since I've been, dealing with politics online since the early 2000s, really, I think since '99. So I'm really, really old school. I definitely have a certain way of dealing with people who act a certain way, but it's just also, like I said, it's just my way of trying to contribute and trying to push things in a better direction. And if for any of you all who are joining, for bragging rights again, Andrew Yang does follow me on Twitter, and which is
Just rub it in my face. Rub it in,
yeah,
man.
Hey, I get like, hey, you know what? If I could trade it to where I got 4,000 subs and you could have Andrew Yang, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I just want
I'm
more interaction in my comment sections. That's
I'm
all.
gonna
But
I'm gonna link everything in my description below. I'm gonna link everything and post a thumbnail. Um, but we have to have another conversation soon, and do it for like 2 hours for sure, because this is a great conversation. And your political prediction series, please keep that up. When and if you guys go check them out, look at the political prediction series, because it's out there, and I kid you not, if at least 3 of those come true, we're, you got the inside scoop. And I want to know how you're coming up with these predictions for sure.
but yeah, I'm leaving them up there forever. They're gonna be up there for however long YouTube chooses to keep them up there. But yeah, my source, if I were to told you, I'll tell you my source right now, and I wouldn't blame you. I really wouldn't. You'd think I was out of my fucking mind. Like lock this dude up. His mind is gone. Fuck. He makes a lot of sense of other things, but his mind is gone. But yeah, it'd be great to talk to you down the road. Pick my brain about say libertarian socialism, what that's about, what my thoughts are, and all
Mhm.
that. Because I think I'm still learning. Now the thing is, I used to be a solid social democrat like Bernie Sanders is. But I think the reason that one point real quick, I think Bernie Sanders calls himself a Democratic socialist because if he doesn't call himself a socialist anyway, the right's going to attack him. He's a secret socialist, so he's just getting it out there. He's just trying to desensitize the word to people, and I think he's beginning to do a really good job of that. So I think that's the reason why, even though he's not actually a Democratic socialist, he's doing it for rhetoric reasons.
Mhm.
So he's doing that. I think that's why he's doing that. But like I said, I used to be a solid social democrat. I have been moving more and more to the left, especially as I get older. So I guess I'm the one exception that proves the rule wrong. That the older
And
you
you don't
get,
get
the
more conservative.
conservative you get. Well, I'm that one guy then. But it's like the older I get, like why are we staying like in status quo, which is obviously not working. Only working for people like Bezos and Elon Musk. And yeah, Elon Musk is doing great with technology and getting the rockets into space, but he really needs to chill it. He really needs to trust in science, not in his extreme need to. Oh, let's build some rockets. Yeah, who cares who gets infected? It's fucking jag off, oligarch fuck. But he's doing wonderful things, but he's also promoting ideas of a basic income, but he's also fucking up elsewhere, which is like really frustrating. But yeah, it's just ideas I like to talk about on my channel and my streams. So whoever's watching, I hope to see y'all there whenever I make videos, and see if y'all can be real cool and give me a sub and help me get over that 400 sub mark, because YouTube has just been really rotten to people, especially smaller political channels like
Mhm.
myself. I like to think I have something of value to bring to the board and bring to the table, but I'll let y'all be the judge of that.
Awesome. All right, man. Thank you so much. It was a great conversation, Yang Gang. Thanks for tuning in. Obviously, after this video is posted, more people are going to check it out. I usually don't live stream at this time, so people are probably like, "What the hell?" So that as the day goes on, I'm sure more and more people are going to check it out. Please feel free to go check out his channel. And thanks, everybody. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, and I'm going to talk
Thank
to you
you for
soon.
having. Yeah, and thank you for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
No problem. All right, man. Peace.